18-year-old Isabella Izzy Morales had been restocking the concession stands at Madison Square Garden for 7 months, ever since she made the difficult decision to drop out of her senior year of high school to care for her ailing grandmother and help support her family. Izzy's shift had her arriving at the garden every Monday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. to inventory supplies, restock merchandise, and prepare the concession areas for upcoming events, earning $13.50 an hour that helped pay for her grandmother's diabetes medication and kept their Bronx apartment. Before we dive into Izzy's life-changing moment, I need to ask you something. If stories about second chances and the power of music to rescue dreams that seemed lost forever matter to you, please hit that subscribe button right now. These stories take weeks to research and craft, and your subscription helps us continue sharing the moments that remind us all that it's never too late to pursue what sets your soul on fire. Now, back to Izzy's incredible discovery. Izzy had always been drawn to music, but growing up in a household where her single mother worked 3 jobs, and her grandmother's medical needs consumed most of their resources, formal music education had never been an option. She had taught herself to play basic guitar chords from YouTube videos during the rare moments when their neighbor's Wi-Fi password worked, and her voice had developed through years of singing along to whatever music she could find, often using the acoustics of empty subway stations during her commute to work. Music had been Izzy's lifeline during the darkest period of her teenage years, when depression had made even getting out of bed feel impossible. Taylor Swift's songs, particularly from the Folklore and Evermore albums, had spoken to her during late-night hours when she felt invisible and forgotten by a world that seemed to value only people who could afford to chase their dreams without worrying about rent money. Invisible String had become especially meaningful to Izzy because its lyrics about hidden connections and unexpected paths to happiness gave her hope that maybe her current circumstances weren't permanent, that maybe there were threads connecting her to a future she couldn't yet imagine. On this particular Wednesday afternoon, Izzy was working alone in the backstage concession area, methodically unpacking boxes of merchandise and organizing inventory, while Taylor Swift's production crew conducted their final technical rehearsal for the next evening's sold-out concert. The backstage concessions area was positioned directly below the main stage, and the venue's construction meant that sound from the stage carried clearly through the service corridors where Izzy worked. Izzy could hear the crew testing audio levels, adjusting lighting sequences, and running through technical cues while she counted t-shirts and arranged concession supplies. She had learned over her months at MSG that different artists brought different energy to their technical rehearsals, but there was something special about the anticipation surrounding a Taylor Swift show that made even the preparation feel electric. As the production team worked through their final sound check, Izzy heard the opening notes of Invisible String echoing through the backstage area. The song was one of her absolute favorites, partly because its gentle melody and hopeful lyrics had gotten her through some of the loneliest nights of her recent past, when dropping out of school had made her feel like she was disappointing everyone who had believed in her potential. Without considering whether anyone might hear her, Izzy began singing softly as she continued sorting merchandise. Her voice, self-taught but naturally expressive, carried the lyrics with an emotional authenticity that came from understanding what it meant to feel connected to something beautiful, even when your daily reality felt overwhelmingly difficult. "Green was the color of the grass where I used to read at Centennial Park," Izzy sang, her voice growing stronger as she became absorbed in the music and momentarily forgot about the boxes of overpriced concert t-shirts she was supposed to be organizing. "I used to think I would meet somebody there." What Izzy didn't realize was that the production crew's audio system was sophisticated enough to pick up ambient sound throughout the venue, and her singing was being transmitted directly to the production booth, where the technical director and stage manager were monitoring all aspects of the rehearsal. "Are you guys getting this?" asked Marcus, the technical director, removing his headphones and looking around the production booth. "There's someone singing backstage, and it's actually beautiful." The other crew members paused their work, listening as Izzy's voice continued to carry through their monitoring system, interpreting Taylor's introspective song with a vulnerability and emotional depth that surprised everyone who heard it. "Where's it coming from?" asked Lisa, the stage manager, checking her venue layout to identify the source of the singing. Backstage Concessions, Level B2, Marcus replied, using his audio equipment to pinpoint the location. There's someone down there who's got serious vocal talent. What none of the production crew knew was that Taylor Swift had arrived at the venue earlier than scheduled and was currently in her dressing room, reviewing her set list and preparing mentally for the technical run-through. When the crew's excited discussion about the mysterious singer reached her through the production communication system, she immediately became curious about what had captured their attention so completely. "What's this about someone singing my songs backstage?" Taylor asked, appearing in the production booth where several crew members had gathered to listen to Izzy's impromptu performance. "There's a young woman in the backstage concession area who's working and singing along with the sound check," Marcus explained. "Taylor, you really need to hear this. Her voice is extraordinary, and the way she's interpreting your song, it's like she's living every word." Taylor put on a set of monitoring headphones and listened as Izzy, still completely unaware that anyone was paying attention to her singing, continued with the second verse of Invisible String. She had moved into the more complex melodic sections of the song, and her voice navigated the challenging emotional territory with a natural musicality that impressed even Taylor, who had written the song during her own period of reflection about fate and connection. "That's not just someone singing along to background music," Taylor said after listening for several minutes. "That's someone who understands what this song means, who's feeling the story it's trying to tell. And her voice, there's something really special happening there." She removed the headphones and made a decision that would completely alter Izzy's understanding of what was possible for her future. "I need to meet her," Taylor announced to the production team. "Can someone go find her and ask if she'd be willing to come up here?" 10 minutes later, Isabella Morales found herself riding the service elevator up to the main stage level in a state of complete disbelief, having been approached by venue security and told that, quote, "Taylor Swift wants to meet you upstairs." Her first thought was that this had to be some kind of mistake or elaborate prank, because there was no conceivable reason why one of the world's biggest music stars would want to meet an 18-year-old high school dropout who stocked concession stands. When Izzy emerged onto the stage level and saw Taylor Swift standing near the piano with her production crew, her confusion transformed into shock so complete that she temporarily lost the ability to form coherent sentences. She had worked at Madison Square Garden for 7 months, had seen the setup for countless major concerts, but she had never imagined she would find herself standing in front of an artist whose music had literally saved her life during her darkest period. "Isabella?" Taylor asked, reading the name tag on Izzy's work uniform. "I'm Taylor. I heard you singing Invisible String downstairs, and I wanted to tell you something. You have one of the most beautiful voices I've encountered in a very long time." Izzy stared at her, still processing the surreal reality that Taylor Swift was speaking to her personally and had apparently been listening to her sing while she worked. I'm so sorry," Izzy managed to say. "I didn't know anyone could hear me. I can stop singing if it's interfering with your rehearsal." "Stop singing?" Taylor replied with genuine surprise. "Isabella, I don't want you to stop singing. I want you to sing more. Your voice is incredible, and the way you interpreted my song, it was like you understood exactly what I was trying to express when I wrote it." She gestured toward the stage where her band was finishing their equipment setup. "Would you be willing to sing something with me right now, in front of everyone here?" Izzy looked around at the production crew members, all of whom were watching her with encouraging expressions, then back at Taylor, who was smiling at her with the kind of genuine warmth that immediately made her feel like this was a conversation between friends rather than a meeting between a global superstar and a teenage concession worker. "I don't think I'm good enough to sing with you," Izzy said honestly. "I never had any real training, and I've never performed for people. I just sing because music is the only thing that makes sense when everything else feels impossible." "The fact that you sing because music makes sense to you is exactly what makes you more than good enough," Taylor replied. "Isabella, some of the most authentic artists I know never had formal training. They have something that can't be taught in any classroom. They have truth, and they have heart. You clearly have both." What followed was one of the most extraordinary impromptu performances in Madison Square Garden's storied history. With the encouragement of Taylor and her crew, Izzy found herself standing on the stage where countless legendary artists had performed, holding a microphone and preparing to sing with one of the world's most successful musicians. They began with Invisible String, the song Izzy had been singing when she was discovered. But this time, instead of singing alone while sorting merchandise, she was harmonizing with Taylor Swift herself, her self-taught but instinctively beautiful voice blending with Taylor's in ways that surprised everyone in the venue, including Izzy herself. "Your voice creates such beautiful harmonies," Taylor told her between songs. "It's like you instinctively know how to find the spaces in a song that need to be filled." They moved through several songs from Taylor's catalog, with Izzy demonstrating not just vocal ability, but an intuitive understanding of emotional storytelling and musical dynamics that impressed everyone present. Her performance of Soon You'll Get Better, Taylor's song about facing illness in the family, was particularly powerful, as her voice carried the weight of someone who understood what it meant to watch a loved one struggle with health problems while feeling helpless to fix everything. But it was during their acoustic version of The Moment I Knew that Izzy's personal story became most apparent to Taylor. As she sang the lyrics about feeling forgotten and watching important moments pass by without recognition, Taylor could hear in her voice the experience of someone who had sacrificed her own milestones and celebrations to take care of family responsibilities. "Isabella," Taylor said when their impromptu concert concluded, "can you tell me about your situation? Are you still in school? What led you to working here?" Izzy explained her family circumstances, her grandmother's diabetes, her mother's multiple jobs, her difficult decision to leave high school during her senior year to work full-time and help support them. She spoke with the quiet resignation of someone who had learned to accept difficult realities, while trying not to think too much about the dreams she had set aside. "I was supposed to graduate this spring," Izzy said, "but when Abuela got sicker and Mom couldn't afford to take time off work to care for her, someone had to step up. Music was always something I loved, but I know it's not realistic for someone like me. I'm just trying to help my family stay afloat." Taylor felt the familiar ache in her chest that came whenever she encountered young people whose talent and potential were being constrained by circumstances completely beyond their control. Here was an 18-year-old with extraordinary natural ability who had already demonstrated more maturity and self-sacrifice than many people twice her age, but who had learned to think of her dreams as luxuries she couldn't afford. "Isabella, I want to change that narrative," Taylor said. "I want to help you pursue music while still being able to take care of your family." What Taylor proposed was comprehensive support that addressed both Izzy's immediate family needs and her long-term educational and artistic development. She arranged for Izzy's grandmother to receive premium health insurance that would cover her diabetes management and other medical needs without the family having to choose between healthcare and basic living expenses. She also established a fund that would allow Izzy to complete her high school education through an accelerated program, while pursuing music training with some of New York's most respected vocal coaches and songwriters. But perhaps most importantly, Taylor offered Izzy opportunities to develop her performance experience through a new program specifically designed for young adults who had been forced to put their artistic dreams on hold due to family responsibilities. "I want you to understand something," Taylor told Izzy as they concluded their conversation. "Your voice isn't just technically beautiful, it carries something authentic that comes from real-life experience. The way you sing, it's like you've lived the emotions in these songs, and that's something that can't be taught or manufactured." 6 months later, Isabella Morales had completed her high school diploma through an accelerated program, was performing at venues throughout New York and New Jersey, and had helped her family achieve a level of financial stability that allowed her grandmother to receive the medical care she needed, while her mother reduced her work schedule to a more sustainable level. The story of Izzy's discovery became the inspiration for Taylor Swift's Hidden Dreams Foundation, which actively sought out young adults who had been forced to abandon their educational or artistic goals due to family responsibilities and provided them with comprehensive support to resume pursuing their aspirations. "Isabella taught me something crucial," Taylor explained in interviews about the foundation. "She reminded me that talent and dreams don't disappear just because someone's circumstances force them to make difficult choices. When we create pathways for people to return to their aspirations, while still honoring their family responsibilities, we discover voices and perspectives that make the entire artistic community richer." Izzy's performance videos, recorded during her collaboration with Taylor, became viral sensations not just because of her remarkable voice, but because they represented hope for millions of young people who had been forced to put their dreams on hold due to economic necessity or family obligations. 2 years later, Isabella Morales was accepted into the New School's music program on a full scholarship, with Taylor Swift personally mentoring her songwriting development. But she continued to work part-time at Madison Square Garden, not because her family needed the income, but because she wanted to identify and encourage other young people who might be working venue jobs while harboring artistic dreams they thought were impossible to pursue. "This place is where I learned that dreams don't have expiration dates," Izzy would tell new employees during venue orientation sessions. "Not because someone famous discovered me, but because someone took the time to really hear what I was expressing through music." You never know when the right person might be listening, so don't be afraid to let your authentic voice be heard. Madison Square Garden eventually installed a small commemorative marker in the backstage concession area that read, "Dreams live here, where everyday voices can become extraordinary when someone takes the time to truly listen." But Isabella Morales preferred to remember that afternoon, not as the day she was discovered by a celebrity, but as the day she learned that authenticity and perseverance could create opportunities that seemed impossible, and that sometimes the most important thing we can do is continue expressing ourselves through the things we love, even when we think no one is paying attention. The inventory clipboard and box cutter Izzy had been using that day were kept in her family's apartment, not as memorabilia, but as reminders that extraordinary transformations often begin during the most ordinary moments, and that the difference between a dream abandoned and a dream realized can sometimes be as simple as someone choosing to really listen when they hear something beautiful. Sometimes the most life-changing discoveries happen not in audition rooms or talent competitions, but in the quiet moments when someone is pursuing their passion simply because it brings them peace. Isabella Morales' story reminds us that extraordinary talent often exists in unexpected places, sustained by people who continue to create beauty even when they believe their dreams are impractical or impossible. Taylor Swift's decision to stop her entire production to seek out and truly hear Izzy's voice proved that when we pay attention to the people working behind the scenes around us, we often find remarkable gifts that have been hiding in plain sight. The most beautiful thing about Izzy's journey wasn't that she was discovered by a famous artist, but that her commitment to family and her authentic expression through music created the perfect conditions for recognition when someone finally took the time to listen with their heart.